Yo, welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. So many talented content creators out there who talk about the Niners, so anytime you decide to hang out here with me on the show, I really do appreciate that. Coming up, we're going to look at 5 defensive tackles who the Niners could trade for in the aftermath of that Javon Hargrave injury, and in turn, this could help San Francisco improve that bad run defense. First, with Week 4 coming up, if you think the Niners will beat the New England Patriots, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let your voices be heard. If not, I want you to comment why and show me that you know ball and give me some reasons. Why do the Niners need to trade for a defensive tackle? That's the question of today's show. Javon Hargrave is out for the year with the torn triceps. He is a pass-rushing defensive tackle, and the Niners need to get better against the run, but the loss of Hargrave hurts because he is a very talented pass rusher, and the Niners are bad against the run, and they were already thin as far as defensive tackle depth goes. And the Niners' defensive rankings in the first 3 games, simply not good enough, and it's inexcusable that the defensive side of the football has been this bad. San Francisco, 21st in points per game, 16th in yards per game, 30th in yards per play, 30th in third down conversion rate, 21st in red zone scoring percentage. You want to take a screenshot of that graphic here so that you can become a more informed Niners fan and tell your friends and family members that this defense needs to turn it around? You can certainly do that. And part of the core issues for this Niners defense over the last 2 years, 2023 and in 2024, is their inability to stop the run. And this has been a trend that has been trending downward for San Francisco. And unfortunately, it used to be a strength for San Francisco. In 2021 and in 2022, the Niners number 2 in EPA per rush allowed. But last year, under Steve Wilks, 26th. And in 2024, even worse under Nick Sorensen at 28. As far as the trade goes, I know a lot of you are probably saying, the Niners can't make a move. Chase, they don't even have any cap space. They're broke. False. Fake news. The 49ers have $56.8 million in cap room. That is number 1 in the National Football League. And next year, they have $55 million in cap space, which is about middle of the pack in the NFL. That's what happens when you sign players to contract extensions and you rework some of these deals. So without further ado, let's take a look at our defensive tackle trade targets, and let's begin with a former Niner and familiar face in DJ Jones of the Denver Broncos. Since he left in 2021, after the 2021 season, I should say, the Niners have missed him on the interior of this defensive line. And a reason why he could get dealt, he was also a trade candidate last year. The Denver Broncos could be in sell mode. I know that in Week 3, they upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, but I don't expect them to be a winning team this year, especially in a very competitive AFC West. And a reason why it would make sense for San Francisco to bring DJ Jones back, he is on an expiring deal. He does have scheme familiarity and team familiarity. And that's the type of player that the Niners have been missing. Now, has their EPA per rush dipped solely because DJ Jones left this team and the Niners couldn't pay him $10 million? It's just part of the reality. No, but they have certainly missed him at that defensive tackle position. His run defense grades over the last 5 years. In 2020, 57.4. In 2021, he really had a career year in a contract year, as that oftentimes happens, 66.8. That is well above league average. If you're hovering in the high 50s or 60s, when you compare these run defense grades to other defensive tackles, especially the ones that we're talking about on today's show, and we're talking about some elite players, it's a pretty good category there. 2022, 57.4. 2023, not good at 49. And then in 2024, 42.2. But could he have a rejuvenation to his NFL career? And could he end up turning the corner and playing his best football since he was with the Niners in 2021 if he were to be brought back? I think so. And I don't think the Niners would have to move a lot to bring DJ Jones back to the Bay. Trade target number 2 is Montravius Adams of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He started about half the games for Pittsburgh last year, he is that traditional nose tackle, defensive tackle who is brought in on running downs to plug some of those rush lanes. He's 29 years old. He was a 2017 third-round pick out of Auburn. He was with the Green Bay Packers from 2017 to 2020, with the Saints in 2021. He's kind of found his footing with Pittsburgh over the last few years. He signed there and was with the Steelers and has been with the Steelers over the last couple of years. Pretty experienced player, too, with 88 games under his belt, with 25 starts. Last year, as he did see the field a good amount, he had a run defense grade of 50.5, so that's solid. He did add 15 quarterback hurries, 16 tackles, 11 stops according to Pro Football Focus, and 0 quarterback hits. Among the players who we're talking about today, I'd probably rank him 5th, but he'd also be an affordable player as far as what it would require to bring him to the Niners. So with that, let's pop up today's poll question, and it's a simple one. Do the Niners need to trade for a defensive tackle? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, use it to your advantage. Scroll on down, join the conversation, type T for trade or P for pass. At number 3, one of the top defensive players in the National Football League, and that is Jeffery Simmons of the Tennessee Titans, who over the last couple of years has probably been the second best tackle or third best tackle behind Chris Jones. And obviously you have to factor in Aaron Donald into that equation. Simmons' resume, he is still only 27 years old, even though it seems as though he's been in the league forever. A 2019 first-round pick out of Mississippi State, 19th overall by Tennessee. He's been a 2-time second-team All-Pro because he's been behind Aaron Donald and Chris Jones at that position. 2 Pro Bowls to his name. And he is strong. He plays the game with nastiness and brute force. 6'4", 305. And in his last 4 years, his Pro Football Focus numbers look as such. In 2021, overall grade of 71.9, a run defense grade of 63.9, 28.4 tackle grade, which is kind of weird, but a pass rush grade of 73.8. Jeffery Simmons is such a multifaceted player who can impact the game stopping the run, but also getting after the quarterback. And that's the type of player that San Francisco really needs. In 2022, that was his contract year, and he was tremendously dominant. 81.1 overall grade, 73 run defense grade, and a 79.3 pass rush grade. In 2023, a little bit disappointing after signing that contract extension worth a lot of money. 68.4 overall grade, run defense grade of 63.1, that'll certainly play, and a pass rush grade of 75.2. And then so far this year in 3 games, he continues to be the anchor of a Titans defense that has performed well, despite Will Levis being a straight-up fraud. 62.6 overall grade, run defense grade very high at 72.5, a tackle grade of 73.9, which is really good, and then a pass rush grade of 52.6. His sack production over the last 5 years, again, he can rush the quarterback too, in addition to stopping the run and occupying a lot of real estate along the interior of the defensive line. He took a little while to get going in his NFL career. A few years where he was really good, but didn't quite find his stride until 2021. He breaks out then with 8.5 sacks, then 7.5 after that, 5.5 last year, this year already with 2. The issue with Jeffery Simmons, as compared to other players on this list that we're talking about on today's show, so glad that you're hanging out here with us, is his contract. He is very pricey, and this is where the Javon Hargrave contract has really hurt San Francisco. He signed a 4-year, $84 million contract, and he's been good but not great, and he's making great money, Javon Hargrave. And for Simmons, when he cashed in a couple of years ago, he really cashed in. This year, he has a base salary of $16.5 million, a cap hit of $21.6. There is an option after 2024, so we'll see what happens there. In 2025, $17.5 million base salary, a cap hit of $22.8. Year after that, base salary increases once again to $20.1, and then the cap hit is $25.4, and then in 2027, $23 million base, $28.8 million cap hit. That's a lot of money to pay a defensive tackle, so that's the issue with Jeffery Simmons. Great player, but you have to pay, and the price tag is pretty hefty. If you want to support the show and support the Niners, get your San Francisco shirts today at chatsports.com/SF. We have sent these all across the continental United States, across the Atlantic Ocean, across the Pacific Ocean. Chatsports.com/SF. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's show. Trade target number 4 is another familiar name for the Niners, and that is DeForest Buckner. This really depends on how the year goes for the Indianapolis Colts. They were able to pick up their first win of the season last week against the Chicago Bears as the Bears continue to be a dumpster fire. I feel bad for Caleb Williams at this point. Matt Eberflus is not a head coach in this league. Anywho, DeForest Buckner, last 4 years, and throughout his entire career since being drafted out of Oregon by the Niners, has been one of the most dominant defensive players in the NFL, not just defensive tackles. And he's great for the locker room culture, a team captain, and a player who the Niners have sorely missed. And DeForest Buckner, even though he's in his 30s now, continues to excel and play excellent football. His overall run defense, tackling, and pass rushing grades over the last 4 years have been very consistent. And so far this year, through 2 games, because he did miss that game last week against Chicago, an 80.9 overall grade, a 79.8 run defense grade, a 60.3 pass rush grade. Those numbers are a little bit low, but the run defense grade's pretty good. The pass rushing grade's really good. And then obviously he gives you some sack production from defensive tackle as well. The Niners should have never traded DeForest Buckner. And really since then, it's wild because San Francisco has paid their homegrown players since deciding to not pay DeForest Buckner. Literally, in 5 consecutive off seasons, they have signed George Kittle, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, and Brandon Ayuk. They should have paid DeForest Buckner. They let him go. They drafted Javon Kinlaw, and this Niners defense has missed him mightily, pass rushing and in stopping the run. And let me bring this name up. Do the Niners miss Arik Armstead as well? They asked him to take a pay cut. Armstead said no. The Sacramento native decided to then leave the Niners, and he got $17 million per year. Sometimes good businesses have to admit their own mistakes, and maybe the Niners might have to admit, we messed up in letting go of Arik Armstead, letting him walk. Now, I thought because of his lack of production, or at least slipping production, and his lack of availability, they had the right to approach Arik Armstead about taking that pay cut. But now you kind of see the impact of not having Armstead at defensive tackle because this Niners rushing defense has not been good. Now, last year they weren't good either, but he was also hurt. And they're much better, and were much better when he was on the field. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they stink. Trent Baalke decided to pay Trevor Lawrence, who's probably the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Sorry, Chip. He went to Clemson, but he's been bad the last 2 years. And will the Jags maybe try to get rid of Arik Armstead? And could the Niners be so desperate where they try to bring him back? Likelihood low, but it's fun to talk about. So that's 5 defensive tackles right there who the Niners could make a move for. Pick a defensive tackle to trade for. It can be somebody who we talked about on the show, somebody else externally. Drop me that name right now.